Things were, normal back in 2019. Remember 2019? Seems like such a long time ago, doesn't it? Well, things all changed for us at the beginning of 2020 when the COVID-19 um, pandemic started. And since January, there's been over 10 million cases, of this illness. And unfortunately, over 240,000 deaths across the United States due to COVID-19. There was a big spike, cases started dropping, and now they're rising again. So, we've taken as a country some preventative measures to try to help decrease the high infection rate, right? Because it is a very contagious illness. Preventative measures such as wearing a mask. I'm in the room by myself. It's just me. My door's closed. That's why I'm not wearing one. Avoiding crowded places, of course, and staying at home as much as is possible. These are some of the our best defenses to this illness. Hopefully we will, we heard good news that there is a potential vaccine coming soon. So, I and I'm sure the rest of the world hopes that this will change things for us so that we can go back to as closely as we can the way things were. But for now, our best defenses are, wearing a mask and avoiding crowds and, trying to remain home as much as possible. So that helps with the outbreak, right? But then there are other consequences to that. There's been a lot of talk in the news about the financial consequences, people losing their businesses, losing their jobs. There's also, emotional consequences to this. Now with us trying to remain at home as much as possible, especially for those who are at high risk. So who are the high risk populations? Certainly if you're older, you have multiple health, underlying health conditions, it's important to try to remain home as much as possible. But what that ends up meaning is, for a lot of people, isolation from family, friends, the community. And as human beings, we thrive on our social interactions with others. And now for our safety, obviously we're trying to avoid that. Decrease in activities because, you're used to getting out there, going to play golf or going to the gym, staying physically active, staying fit, doing all of these, going to Zumba classes, all of these things that are good for your health, right? These are positives. Well, now it presents a risk. And so these activities that keep us heart healthy are now putting us at risk, and we're not doing them so much. And that has consequences too, emotionally. Okay. It's important that we try to maintain a distance between ourselves and others, social distancing. Well, that distance, creates an emotional distance as well, right? Less handshakes, less hugs, less pats on the shoulder. And we thrive on that physical contact, social contact as human beings. We're used to being able to look at someone's face and read their face. but now half of our faces are covered by a mask. So that feedback, right, is not there when we're all wearing masks. So, you know, this creates challenges for birthdays, right? Especially for younger children who may not fully understand, what's happening and why. So there have been some creative birthday ideas. Obviously celebrating at home with the folks that you live with. You can still have the cake, you can still have presents, you can still do all of that. And what some people have done is loved ones will drive by, play some music, decorate the cards, beep and wave, and wish, happy birthday. And these are, everyone has these creative ideas about how to still celebrate others while remaining as safe as they can, right? Halloween, trick-or-treating, another challenge, another opportunity for some creative ideas. We're used to taking our kids, going, knocking on the neighbors' doors, and, big smiles. Everyone has their outfits on and getting candy and talking about what's going on. But now that, it was a high risk, that's a high risk position, high risk situation. So, there were suggestions to celebrate at home, decorate at home, maybe do a little bit more home decorating, and trying to limit exposure. We have Thanksgiving coming up, a couple weeks. We have Christmas coming up, and we're used to getting together as a big family indoors, and a great opportunity to reconnect with family members is now a bit risky, right? It's indoors, you're eating, so you're not wearing masks. So it's another challenge, right? Doing it the way we've always done is unfortunately considered high risk. Having it outside is a bit lower risk, but doesn't prevent it entirely, right? So, the CDC is recommending that folks have Thanksgiving at home with the folks that you live with. Again, it's opportunities for creativity. A lot of people are working from home. Some people are working from home and are spending a lot more time with family, reconnecting with their family, which, in a lot of cases has been a positive for those who have not been able to spend as much time with family before. Some people I have heard have done a household bubble, where they and another household are not leaving their homes, and they are treating their two households as though it were one, so that they are able to socialize with one another as though they lived in the same household. I'm not quite sure of all of the complications and risks that come with that, but people are looking at creative ideas to try to stem the feeling of isolation and distance, So, I've talked about, what we're facing and what we have had to do in order to protect ourselves and the consequences that come with that. So for some folks, it has caused an increase in anxiety, stress, an increase in feelings of depression, and, technically, as a psychiatrist, we would consider this what we call an adjustment disorder. So you have a stressor, whatever that stressor may be, and then you have increased worry, anxiety, difficulty focusing, or feeling really down starts to affect your ability to function well at work or at home. But once the stressor passes, you're able to readjust and go back to fully functional and feeling healthy and whole again. Of course, this is a stressor that has continued much longer than any of us thought it would. And so it has persisted. And unfortunately for some, those feelings have persisted. Okay. And at some point, it may get to a stage where you're really having a lot more difficulty in functioning well. So what does that look like? How can you tell? You know, certainly if you live with others or you're interacting with others, sometimes they may point it out to you. And they may say, you know, hey, Amanda, you're not quite like yourself. And you may notice that maybe your coworkers point out to you that you're not functioning as well. So sometimes you can tell by feedback that you get from others who know you, okay? Or if you find yourself being more irritable than usual, things that before you could brush off are really getting to you now. And you're noticing that this is consistent. Sometimes depression presents not just with sadness, but with irritability and anger. Sometimes that anger and irritability is a sign of depression. Okay, so if you see that in yourself or you see that in someone you know, it may be a good time to reach out to them. Sleep problems, sleep disturbance has been a big issue during this time. People have worries. They're worrying about their own health, their health of others, bigger concerns, larger concerns about the country, other things going on, protests, elections. People are starting to have some difficulty with sleep too. And, you know, when these all combine, it can result in a real difficulty in functioning well. People may find themselves eating less or eating more, having some weight changes. People might find themselves drinking more alcohol, okay, during these times, being at home, being isolated, feeling worried, stressed, and depressed. So that's definitely something to monitor, because increased alcohol intake itself can eventually lead to depression, worsened anxiety, and sleep problems as well. So, you know, in this time of COVID-19, it's really important that we stay as connected as we can with our loved ones, with our neighbors and friends, to see how everyone is doing. And if you're finding any of these things are the case, they seem more down, they just don't seem like themselves, a lot more irritable, angry, they're drinking more, they're eating more, or the opposite, they're losing weight, it's a good time to reach out to them and talk to them. Sometimes just being able to, because like I said, we're cutting down on in-person, right? I'm talking to you from a video right now, right? We are trying to cut down on in-person. So we're calling more, right? We're doing videos more. It's really important to try to stay connected to our loved ones for their health as well as yours. You know? And in some cases, things may get to the point where they need to talk to a professional, right? And there are a lot of different treatments out there. They can engage with a therapist individually or a group. And most of this is done via video. Okay. Some therapists do sessions over the phone for those who are not tech savvy. A lot of doctors' offices are doing visits via video. And luckily, the health insurance companies have recognized the need for telehealth. Telehealth has been around prior to 2020, but it certainly has expanded this year, and hopefully will be here to stay. But you can reach a mental health professional even if you are afraid to leave home. Some people have expressed a fear of going out to the grocery store or what have you because of concerns that others are not wearing masks and what risk that presents to them and things like that. So therapy is certainly something that is available out there, as well as medications. There are a lot of, at some point, if, therapy does not work, or if your situation is one in which you're finding yourself not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, you're not showering, you're losing weight, you're not eating, you're not functioning. Sometimes it gets to that point where you're wondering whether, what's the point of life? Why should I carry on? You start having those thoughts, it's really important. It's really important to get help. Okay? And if you start feeling like life's not worth living, I want you to make sure you seek help today. Okay? If you have a psychiatrist, to reach out to them, or if you don't, or you can't get a hold of them, to go to the ER or call the suicide hotline. We will all get through this as a country. We will. But in the meantime, we have to take care of ourselves and take care of each other. Okay? So, as I was saying, if it gets to that point where you're not functioning, you may need medications. And it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. You may just need them for a time, right? There is a lot of stigma surrounding mental illness still in the year 2020. But, if you have diabetes, you have to take your insulin, right? And if you don't, then you're going to get very sick. Or if you have high blood pressure, you have to take your medicine. And if you don't, blood pressure is going to stay high. Major depressive disorder, aka depression, is an illness just like any other. And in some cases requires medications to treat. It's not a judgment on you. Doesn't mean that you're weak. Doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean any of those things. What it means is you have an illness that requires treatment, just like anything else. Just like anything else. Right? And we all do so many things to try to take care of ourselves, right? We try to eat right. We try to exercise. Consider it self-care. You have to take care of yourself, your personal responsibility. If you have an illness, you want to make sure you get it treated. So what's out there? Okay. Generally for depression and anxiety, we would use an antidepressant. And there's multiple antidepressants out there. You would meet with your psychiatrist, or in some cases, your primary care doctor may start you on one. And it takes 6 to 8 weeks for maximum effectiveness, but it's important to take the medication as prescribed. Okay, and in, you know, a lot of cases it's temporary, right? But it's really important to take, you know, any medication prescribed by your doctor um, as prescribed. Okay, and hopefully, you know, as 2020 winds to a close, we're in November now, looking forward to 2021. Hopefully things will start turning around for us individually, as a community, and as a nation. And as I said, we will get through this and come out the other side. You know, and I want to thank you for your time and tuning in with me today. And I don't know if there's any questions anyone has, but I'm open to any questions.
Doesn't look like anybody's got any questions. Can I make a comment? You did great. You did great. And you mentioned staying on whatever the doctors prescribe. You talk about antidepressants and anxiety medication, and hopefully you'll confirm this. I know there are a lot of people that say, I don't need this anymore and just drop off. But normally you have to wean off those types of drugs. Normally, I'm not saying is, but I don't know if that is totally true, but if it is, then maybe you should mention it so that if anybody does start doing that, they don't just drop it. If I'm wrong, if I'm right, I mean.
No, you're absolutely right. You want to follow your provider's recommendations on the medications, and when starting the typical antidepressants, you know, most people tolerate it just fine, no issues. Sometimes people have a bit of, you know, stomach upset, feel a little bit nauseous, a little bit dizzy, or, you know, sometimes, you know, they experience that and may experience that again as you come off of medicine. So that's why when you're starting a medicine, you typically start it off at a low dose, slowly titrate upward until, you know, you reach a dose that it works. And then when it's time to come off of the medication, you do it in reverse. You slowly taper down, and your physician will give you instructions on how to taper down and when to taper down. Unfortunately, some folks, you know, they start a medicine, they're feeling better, and stop the medicine, and then the symptoms come back. Why? Because the medicine was working. So, you know, if it's your first time experiencing a depressive episode, that it's important to take the medicine. You may only need it for the first year or so, and then your provider may taper you off. But if you notice that you've had several depressive episodes and every time you come off of the medicine, you get depressed again, then you may need to stay on the medicine indefinitely.
Thank you.
Of course. Were there any other questions?
Dr. Darling, this is Lisa Cook from Delray Medical Center. Just wanted to thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day to do this for us today. It was very helpful and very informative, so I appreciate it.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Lisa, and good to see you.
Yes,
All right.
exactly.
Dr. Darling, this is Jamie from Glen Eagles. I just wanted to second that and thank you for your time. This is great.
You're very welcome anytime. All right. And bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Terrific.
Thank
Thank
you. Have a
you.
great weekend.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.